This is the clusters page, which introduces users to what clusters are and how they function at national, regional, and local levels. A cluster is a regional concentration of related industries that arises from economic linkages between industries in a particular location. As this diagram explains, there are two types of clusters: traded clusters, which are in a teal color across the site, and local clusters, which are shown in a blue color throughout the site. Traded clusters are clusters that compete in and serve markets in other regions. We tend to refer to traded clusters as the engines of regional economies because research shows that they are critical for driving high levels of prosperity in a region. Examples of these industries include management consulting and aircraft manufacturing. Local clusters are clusters that serve the local market. They are the foundation of local economies, critical for retaining and sharing the prosperity generated in a region. Examples include drugstores and elementary schools. While local clusters account for most of the employment and employment growth in regional economies, traded clusters register higher wages and much higher levels of innovation. Local clusters provide necessary services for the traded clusters in a region, and both are needed to support a healthy and prosperous regional economy. As you scroll down the page, you will be presented with two ways of viewing the cluster's data. The first is by national performance indicators, which can be selected by clicking on the Employment, Wages, Job Creation, or Specialization gray buttons. The Employment tab populates a bar chart of employment by all traded clusters in the U.S. You can interact with and customize the chart to display different years. By clicking on a year at the top, the chart will automatically update to reflect your selection. On any of these charts, clicking on a bar in the chart will give you more detailed information about a cluster, as well as links into a specific dashboard of data for that cluster. You can also switch your view of employment to local clusters by clicking on the Local button on the top right. In addition, you can download an Excel spreadsheet of the data underlying the chart by clicking on this button to the far left. And you can also capture an image of the chart you are looking at by clicking to the button to the right of it. Each of these charts has a unique URL that you can link to and share. Similarly, these viewing features are also available on the Wages tab and the Job Creation tab. The Job Creation chart, however, allows you to select a range of years to look at the absolute number of jobs gained or lost for a specific cluster. The chart is defaulted to 1998 to 2011, but you can change the start and end years by hovering over 1998 or 2011 and horizontally moving the arrow resized cursor that appears. Lastly, when you click on the Specialization tab, you are shown a scatter plot that measures the national employment share of clusters in the U.S. against the change in national employment share. To zoom in on a part of the chart, hover over the chart and use the crosshair cursor to drag and select a box around the part that you want to zoom in on. You can also click on any of the cluster circles for more information about the cluster and a link to that cluster's dashboard. Just like the Job Creation chart, you can adjust the range of years that you wish to see. The second way of viewing the cluster data is through a visual listing of differently sized bubbles, which you saw when you first scrolled down the page. The list of clusters is the default setting on this page and can be returned to by simply clicking the gray tab labeled Default. This list presents the 51 traded clusters in alphabetical order, followed by the 16 local clusters. The size of each cluster bubble is scaled to show the relative number of employment for that cluster. You can click on any cluster bubble for more information about the cluster and a link to the cluster dashboard for that cluster. Please note that these clusters have been defined based on data covering the entire U.S. economy. They will not necessarily align with cluster names or concepts used in certain regions. The value this project brings is to provide a set of nationally consistent clusters that enable comparisons between any region. By drawing from these clusters, regions can then better understand their own specific clusters. To navigate into specific clusters, you simply click on a cluster bubble. In this case, let's look at aerospace and defense. When you select the link to the dashboard for that cluster, it is organized in a Summary tab, a Top Regions tab, a Subclusters tab, and an Organizations tab. The Summary page, which we are on, shows a preview of the entire content of this section. The map shows the economic indicators dropdown and the ability to change the region type. The next section is a preview of the top regions. These are the top 10 regions by employment for the aerospace cluster. There's a link to the Top Regions tab and page, which contains the full chart and additional data. The next section is a preview of the subclusters. This is a chart of the employment for each of the subclusters contained in the aerospace cluster. aircraft, search and navigation equipment, and missiles and space vehicles. There is also a link at the bottom to the Subclusters tab page, which includes the full chart and additional data. The next section is the related clusters visualization. Since this is the beta release, some of the features on the site are still in progress, including this one. We will expect to have this up sometime in the next couple of months. At the very bottom of the summary page, there's specific information on related organizations, related blog posts, and related resources. You can register on the site for free using the registration button on the top right and add an organization, blog, post, or resource. If it is relevant to the aerospace and defense cluster, you can also tag this post with a cluster tag of aerospace, and then it will populate here on the page. Next, we'll quickly go through each of the individual tabs. The top regions tab has the same map at the top as the summary page, and below is the same set of charts that you saw previously: employment, wages, job creation, and specialization, as well as a timeline visualization, which again is still in progress and not yet available on the beta site. Next is the subclusters page. This map is unique in that you can filter by individual subcluster. Below the map is a full set of charts for the aerospace subcluster. When you select a specific bar, you will be provided a link to the industry table, which will provide the individual NAICS codes for the individual subclusters. Finally, there is an organizations page, which takes you to a separate page of all organizations added to the site that have been tagged as being related to aerospace. You can add an organization by clicking the Contribute button at the top right of almost every page on the site.